more than scans, just collecting stories. Your marketing team will love you if you can have a few takeaways, have the photos, talk about your whole experience at the event, what it was like in the booth.
Welcome to the channel Buzz, where we connect the dots across marketing, partnerships, and the ERP ecosystem. I am your host, Amiee Keenan, and in each episode, we'll explore the strategies and stories, tips, tactics, trends that drive success in the channel. Welcome aboard. Welcome back to another episode of the channel Buzz, where we connect the dots across marketing, partnerships, and the ERP ecosystem. I am your host, Amiee Keenan, and today we're talking about something that I think every marketing leader, partner manager, and event sponsor needs to hear. For years, companies have measured the success of conferences and trade shows in the same way. How many leads did we get? But let's be honest, that's only a small part of the story. The best events aren't just about collecting business cards or scanning badges. They're about building relationships, increasing visibility, creating conversations, strengthening partnerships, and of course, staying top of mind long after everybody gets home. And the companies seeing the biggest return from events aren't necessarily the ones with the biggest booths or the biggest budgets. They're the ones with a strategy that starts before the event, continues while they're there, and doesn't stop when the booth comes down. Joining me today is Megan Martin, an event marketing strategist who has spent years helping organizations rethink how they approach conferences, trade shows, and community events. Today, we're talking about why it's time to stop measuring events like it's 2015. Megan, welcome to the channel Buzz. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. So glad to be here.
So before we dive into the measuring events like 2015, I would love for you to share a little bit about yourself and let the audience get to know you.
That's great. Well, I'm super glad to be here. As Amiee mentioned, I'm Megan Martin. I'm the founder of M Squared Dynamics, a consulting firm where we work with all different kinds of marketing, CEOs, CFO leaders on how to get the most out of their events and find audiences maybe that they haven't engaged with in the past.
Yes, and she has a podcast as well, so make sure
I
would put a link in the show notes so that people can check it out, because that's how I found Megan in the first place, was listening to one of your podcast episodes.
Yeah, so I have my own podcast called Event About It. It's part storytelling where we get to share stories of all the crazy things that happens at events. But then we also dig in a little bit deeper in the after show of the podcast where we talk all things event attribution, how to get the most out of it, some of the conversation we're having today.
Yes, love it. So make sure you guys check that podcast out as well. So let's dive into the questions. One of the biggest mistakes companies make is evaluating an event, obviously based on leads. Why is that such a limited way to measure success?
Well, leads really at the end of the day just tell you interest. They don't necessarily tell you intent. And so if you're looking at the volume of leads you have, that doesn't mean all of those leads are qualified. So when we really want to think about leads more as an interest area rather than intent area, real measurement on a lead comes in how you tie it back to pipeline. So is the pipeline being influenced? Are there partner conversations? Like there's more that comes out of an event than just leads. There's customer retention plays in part. There could be content. If you're doing sessions in your booth, that's all repurposable by marketing and sales enablement teams. But more than anything, there's also brand involved in it. So you have to look at all of that and not just your lead volume, but look at what's already in pipeline being influenced. Maybe deals are being accelerated as opposed to only like net new.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like, yes, I know sometimes events can be expensive, right? Because you have to pay for the sponsorship, then you have to pay for your team to be there. So you have airfare and hotel and all that. But so they're always looking for the ROI and the number of leads because they're like, hey, if we get 200 booth scans, that'll help with our ROI. And so, like you said, like there's so much more to an event. Strengthening those relationships with your customers is huge, and your partners for that matter, and pushing those other leads that you've already have through the funnel faster. I feel like that's even the biggest impact right there alone, because then you'll see the true ROI pushing them if you're pushing them through the funnel faster if they've already been in there.
Yeah, exactly. And ROI can be so subjective. Like, I think that's why so many people struggle to be like, well, what's the ROI? Because if you ask a CMO what the ROI of your trade show was, or event, or user conference was, and you ask the CFO and you ask the CEO versus sales leader, they're probably going to give you 4 or 5 different answers of what ROI means to them. So before you even get to the event, like defining what that is, and maybe there's a multiple answers to what ROI actually is, but lead volume, more times
Yeah.
than not, is not the answer to did this event move the needle for us. It could have been in brand. It could have been in, customers reached, pipeline accelerated, new pipeline generated. Like there's a lot of different ways to measure an event.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody needs to be all on the same page with all those things
Exactly.
as well.
Yeah, all those titles, alphabet soups we just named have to have, a common dictionary of what it means going into any event, a trade show, or really any kind of program you're doing. Because if there's a mismatch on the why and how you're going to measure success, then you're never going to be able to prove ROI because it means too many things to too many different people.
Exactly. So buyers don't usually walk into an event, a conference, a trade show ready to purchase, obviously, although even some of us really think they are. What are they actually looking for when they attend the conferences and trade shows today?
Yeah, the only shows that I personally think actually someone shows up to buy are like consumer shows or like wholesale shows, like a lot of the natural food expos or things like that. Like people are going to buy. But for the most part, especially in the SaaS and the tech world, people have already Googled you. They've probably already asked 4 or 5 people for recommendations. Have you heard of this company? They're asking ChatGPT and Claude, what do you know about this product? They're doing their homework before they show up. So what really should be focused on at your events, a trade show, whatever it is really building that trust. So they're there for proof, peer validation. As cheesy as it sounds, like, do they vibe with you? Do they
Yeah.
vibe with your team? Are your sales team educated? Can people answer my questions? Like, I don't want a chat bot. I want a human to answer my questions. So when people show up, they're looking for stories. They're looking for proof. They want to know they can trust your brand. And so how do you then design your booth or your dinner or your experience on building that trust and having that human to human connection, so that the next step when they get home or before they even leave the show is booking the demo, getting to the contract phase, accelerating that, because there very few people walk onto a trade show floor already knowing what they're going to purchase. They want the vibe check before they sign the contract.
Exactly. And obviously, when you go to some of these bigger trade shows, right, there are probably 100 plus booths, and they can't go and visit every single person. So they probably have a short list of those they definitely want to talk to. Like you said, they looked them up, they did ChatGPT, they talked to their peers, they went on social media to learn all about these companies before they even go to that booth. So I feel like the people in the booth really have to make sure that they think that, right? Okay, this person might have heard of me, might not have heard of me. And maybe you do a little bit of digging and first and kind of figure out where they're at and what they know about you so that you know what your conversation should be like and how that you're going to strengthen that trust, like you said. Okay, so most exhibitors spend months preparing for an event, then they move on a week later. Crickets on social media, crickets everywhere. So what should happen after the event to keep that momentum going?
I mean, first and foremost, just follow up with your leads. There's some crazy statistic out there that like 80% of leads never get followed up on after a show. So like the very first thing you could do is just
Mm.
follow up on the leads and I always try to tell our teams like following up within 48 hours is a good sweet spot. And there's so much automation that like if
Mhm.
you're qualifying the leads and doing your notes correctly in your trade show booth or while you're having the conversation, depending on how you enter those and put information in there, the follow-up could be automated and then they're, getting to you even faster. Like I have some clients I work with that have automations so the person is getting an email from them or a LinkedIn request before they've even left the booth. So first and foremost, after the event, to keep the momentum going, just follow
Mhm.
up with all the
Mhm.
conversations you're having. That's really it. And there's so many ways to do that and ways to think about repurposing your show floor presence. But first and foremost, just do the follow up.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like one of the biggest things, or maybe the biggest hurdles, is that they don't do their due diligence when they have that conversation in the booth. And I really feel like it's important when you're following up with these people that you make it personable and that it is something you actually talk to them about. Because obviously we send out those generic emails, like you said, thank you for stopping by the booth.
Yes.
And here's more about us, and or like, those generic emails, which are fine for maybe the ones you didn't talk to. Maybe you just scan them. You don't really know much about them. But the ones that you actually had those conversations with, that you maybe have these clear next steps, making sure that we are documenting that, taking good notes so that the follow-up is really more personable.
Yeah, and there's
That's
nothing
so,
worse than getting an email after a show that's like, thanks for stopping by my booth. And it's like, I didn't even attend the show. Like,
can I ask you something? How many doors did you open this month or your company? And I'm not talking about sales calls or demos, actual doors. And that could be a new introduction, a new partnership, a new conversation, a new audience. The ISVs creating the most momentum aren't waiting for those opportunities to appear. They're creating them through participation and visibility. And that's exactly what the CVCC Growth Checklist is designed to help you do. Download it today from the isvsociety.com or in the link in the show notes and see how many doors you are really opening. Now, back to the show. Yes, I get
I
that.
get so many emails now of like, great to see you at XYZ conference. And it was like, bro, I didn't even go to that conference. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Right. But,
So
and there's a
bad,
difference
so
between
bad.
personalized and personal, right? So like putting,
Mm-hmm.
hi, Megan, hi, Amy, in the email, that's personalization, but that doesn't mean the email's personal to me. And if you set
Right.
up your lead capture devices, whether you're renting from the show or using a universal lead capture, there's very sophisticated tools now where you can say like, this person came by and did a demo just to get our swag. So maybe they get a
Mm-hmm.
different message that was like, thanks for stopping by the booth. I hope you enjoyed XYZ gift or whatever your swag item was, versus someone who
Mm-hmm.
actually did a demo, or maybe they scanned in because they were going to the session that you're doing in your booth. Like you can put all of those different things in your lead scan setups now so that when the follow-up comes, you can be like, oh, we only scan these people that came to the session. We only scan these people who came to our party or reception that we did. So then the follow-up is more in tune with where they actually
Yes.
touched you at the event.
Yeah, that's so important. Like you said, you just really have to make sure you set up things to make it easy too. And then when you do have those deep dive conversations, whoever that person is, they just have to make sure they take good notes from that conversation. So they should be the one following up with them if they had the conversation with them.
Yeah, if you slow down for 5 seconds and really set yourself up for success at the event and spend a little bit more time setting up the lead device, setting up your templates for the follow-ups. You do all of that work. When you get to the event and then the follow-up, so much of that is easier because then you're not trying to figure out what to say, what to set up.
Mm-hmm.
All of that should be done before you ever leave your house or your office to go to an event. Like if you
Exactly.
spend
And the other thing that I like that you mentioned is you're already requesting to connect with them on LinkedIn even before they leave the booth or right after they leave the booth, which I think is huge too, because number one, a lot of people forget to do that when they get back to their office. Number two, they probably already forgot who you were. And if you do it right away and you say, hey, love chatting with you at the booth, let's connect, then they already remember that. And it makes it that much easier for them to accept your connection request. So I feel like that's a huge miss for a lot of people that forget to do that. Okay. So there are hundreds of ways to participate in an event without necessarily spending a fortune on a booth. What are some of your favorite approaches?
I mean, everyone loves to do a dinner, a reception, or a party, but there are typically 3 meals in a day. So why not host a breakfast? Like, that's one of my favorite things to do. Like, we think about all these dinners, but then you're competing, with a dozen other brands who are also inviting the same people to a dinner. So why not have a coffee or just send an email out and being like, hey, XYZ executives are going to be at Starbucks across the street from the convention center from 8 to 10. Come have a conversation with us. We'll buy you a coffee, right? Like, there's other meal times.
Yes.
The one thing I do hate though, especially if it's a busy like night for everyone doing events, is people who do like boat parties. Like, those are great, but like, I don't want to be trapped on a boat for 3 hours when I have a dozen invitations. So like, stop doing boat parties. People want to ebb and flow. And if I feel like trapped into your dinner or trapped into your reception, unless it's like the go-to place, like you've got to nail that event if you're going to ask people to give up 3 to 5 hours of their evening just on one program. You have to make it worth it. But there's other ways too, like having activations around, like you see this a lot at some of the like bigger cybersecurity and IT conferences. People will rent out, a retail space that's in walking distance and do like a whole activation around that. Or maybe there's like a private shopping experience the day before. Like, look at also those shoulder nights, because a lot of times people have to come in the night before. So maybe you do an activation pre or post the conference and don't try to fit in on a busy middle of the night schedule. The other thing that I'm seeing a lot more of that I think is really resonating, if you do have a booth, carving out space to have like a little creator corner and then inviting those influencers and creators and being like, hey, we have a space for you. Tell me when you want to use it. And then they can promote and being like, I'm going to do a live session from so-and-so's booth at 1:00, and it just takes a little corner in your booth space or somewhere that you're going to activate around the event. That's another good idea. But really, anything you can do around the event always helps. And that's not a dinner. Think other meals, other ways, buying coffee, sending coffee, come meet me here. This is super frowned upon, but I see it happening a lot. I think it's going to get harder and harder to do. Some call it backpacking, some call it suitcasing an event, where you just go to the headquarter hotel bar and you just sit there all day.
Yeah.
And you catch everyone as they're coming and going. It's super, super frowned upon. So like, don't do it, but also like, you could do it. But like, event people are going to hate me for recommending this. But a lot of times I'll literally just go to the main hotel bar. I don't do it at the convention center. I don't want to take away from the event or wherever the main event's going to be. But like, if you're hanging out in areas where attendees are going to be, it's about being in the middle of the action. So find out where that is and then activate around it.
Yeah. And breakfast is my favorite meal of the day. So I'm all for doing breakfast get-togethers. I can tell you that. And speaking of the activation in the booth, I'm actually doing that at Community Summit. I'm having my What's the Channel Buzz podcast in someone's booth one day for a couple hours. So just like you said, so you can do that. And it just like brings more people into the booth for other reasons other than just to learn about you. So I think that's huge.
Yeah, and if there's prospects that you're trying to get in front of, invite them to do an interview in your booth and say, hey, we've got a little space. I'd love for you to sit down and talk about your experience at the event or whatever it might be. It gives you a reason to reach out without it always having to be salesy, right? So a sales leader taught me when I started in the space that, you have to make deposits before you ask for something back, right? Before you can withdraw, you have to deposit the relationship. So what's an easy way? People love talking about their knowledge. So say, hey, We've got a space in our booth. Would love to chat with you. Come talk for a little bit. And then you can follow up. Thanks so much. Blah, 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 blah. And then you can go into the pitch at that point. And at that point, you've built a relationship. You've built trust with them. It's a super easy way to engage with someone without it feeling like a sales conversation.
Yes, definitely. And before we get on to our last question, one thing I want to just make sure everybody does that I also think we forget to do is take a lot of pictures of people in the booth, people that come chat with you, with people, because you can use all of those after the event and tag those people and keep the momentum going. So I feel like a lot of times we forget to take a lot of pictures and then we don't have the follow-up. We don't have what we could use on social to really keep that momentum going. So remember to take pictures. Very important.
Yeah. And if you're a sales and account executive, a partner manager, whomever, you're present, you're helping your marketing team by posting about the event and your experience and sharing your photos. So much of the social media algorithms are now driven by personal posting as opposed to your company brand. And your company brand can then reshare, or you can reshare your company's information. Now, I know some of the larger organizations have restrictions around some of that, but it's a great way to promote yourself and your company, and your marketing team would love it if you shared more about, your takeaways and what your experience was like at the event.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, last but not least, if a company is attending an event this year, what's one thing they should start doing before, during, and after the event to get more value from their investment?
Yeah, I think before we've kind of talked about it already is like having your leadership online on what that looks like. And same, not just your leadership, but then getting that message down to whoever is going to be staffing your booth or staffing the event. They need to understand what you're trying to accomplish and why certain decisions were made in the booth. And a lot of times an account executive is going to show up there just thinking leads, leads, leads. So I have things to follow up, build my pipeline. But sometimes events are broader and bigger purposes than that. So being very clear with leadership and anyone that's going on what the point of the event is. And most of the work is going to get done ahead of time. So write those email templates so the follow-up can happen. If there's automation from your lead capture devices, have all of that automation already set up. Know what your follow-up is going to be before you ever leave the house to go to the event. So writing those things down, defining what success looks like, educating the team on that, and have as much of the follow-up ready to go. So as soon as you get home, you're not creating, you're just executing on it.
Yeah, I agree.
And then during the event, more than scans, just collecting stories. Your marketing team will love you if you can have a few takeaways, have the photos, talk about your whole experience at the event, what it was like in the booth. The more behind the scenes content, like people love the real stories. So if you're setting up your booth, like take some video of what that looks like. It doesn't take much. We all have iPhones and or phones in our pocket with cameras now. So like just get the quick photos, especially if you're with customers, prospects, get all of that content captured and then share it out with your teams, hopefully while you're there, ideally.
Yes.
And then after, number one thing, just follow up. That's it. Just do the follow up. Now, whether that's content repurposing and you're getting the videos to marketing teams that they can then turn into, webinars or other things, there's tons of ways to do with content. But from a lead standpoint, like just do the follow up. And if you've done your pre work and you've set all of it up, then the follow up is super easy and it can happen very quickly.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you've heard it. This is the way you help strengthen those relationships, build that ROI that's not just leads, and hopefully you got a lot of value from this episode. So thank you everyone for tuning in to this episode of the Channel Buzz. If you enjoyed this conversation, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, and of course, share this with someone on your team who might be responsible for events, marketing, or partnerships. Until next time, keep creating conversations, keep building relationships, and keep creating a little more buzz. We will see you next time for another episode. Thank you so much, Megan, for being here.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Have a great day, everyone.